What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a CBCS and CGC graded Star Wars comic book market update. The market is really attractive right now if you have some money to burn. The prices are down anywhere from 30 to 50% from their highs even just 3 or 4 months ago. There are some great deals out there. So I think it's almost time for me to start dipping my toes back into getting some of these books to fill in some of the holes in my collection, be it the vintage comics, some of the Dark Horse run, some key issues there, or some modern issues that I think look really attractive right now. So we're going to dig into all the prices, but I would say that the prices are easily down in that range, kind of 30 to 50%. So if you collect graded Star Wars comics, there are some really good deals and definitely worth checking out. I mainly covered in this video 9.8 grades, but I do have some other grades for those of you interested. So let's go ahead and dig right in. The first one is Star Wars number 8. This is from 1978, and this is the first comic book appearance of Jackson. There's a number of other first appearances in this book, but he's the most notable one. Obviously, last year we came out, or Hasbro came out with the Black Series kind of comic style boxed version of Jackson. And while I don't have that one in my collection, I think this book is one I'd love to pick up. It's just a great cover with Han and Chewie and Jackson right there on the cover. And again, it's a 9.8 grade. It was listed for $415. The best offer that was accepted was $383 plus shipping. And that price is well down. I mean, that's well below where the peak prices were for this one. This one was over $600 even earlier this year. So $383 took that one home. And honestly, you know, this was sold by My Comic Shop. You could have got it for even cheaper than $383 just in a buy it now situation if the buyer had gone to mycomicshop.com. The prices are usually about, you know, let's call it 10 or 15% less than what they're listed for on eBay. So just keep that in mind. If you do see a book you like from My Comic Shop, just go to their website directly and you can avoid a lot of the eBay fees. There were 3 different issues of Star Wars number 16 that all ended at the same time on November 27th. All 3 of them were in auctions, and all 3 of them were CGC 9.8s with white pages. And this is the first appearance of Bylert Valance. He's a bounty hunter. And this is another book that I've mentioned in the past that I'd like to add to my collection. It's just such an awesome cover. The hunter, death and destructions are his tools. The Star Warriors are his targets. It just screams everything 1970s with all the main heroes as well as Jackson on the cover there. Kind of a very 1970s style to Bylert Valance. He's kind of since been updated with all kind of cyborg enhancements and things like that with some of the more modern issues. But this is a great book. Just an awesome cover. And as I said, 3 different issues all sold. This one sold for $226 plus shipping. The same seller had this one for $237 plus shipping. And then this one sold for $255. And you know, that is kind of a fairly narrow band. Let's call it 225 to about 260 or so. And I think it all just comes down to coloring. How, you know, if there's any kind of color fading or bad printing, if it's got any spine ticks, you got to really zoom in on the photos. But that gives you a nice tight range for that book, and I think that's really fair. Earlier this year, this book was running between $400 and $450. So to get it closer to 225 to 250, that's very attractive and probably one I'll aim for next year. Next up is one I do have in my collection. I think I actually have 2 copies of this. This is Star Wars number 35 in a 9.8 grade. This is the first meeting of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in comics. It's non-canon. It's kind of like a secondary or expansion universe story, not related to the movies at all. But $255 is a fantastic price. This book was going for about $400 when I picked up my 2 copies. I think I picked up one of mine for $375 and another for $400. So it's come way down from that list price, as you'd expect. But this is just a great cover. I think every serious Star Wars comic book collector should have this one in their collection. It shows the main heroes as kind of chess pieces with Darth Vader holding some of the characters. Darth Vader plays a game of death against the Star Warriors. I mean, this is a fantastic cover. And as it's labeled by CGC, it's the first face-to-face meeting of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in comics. So again, there's not a lot of these on the census, although there have been more of them printed. But when I bought mine, I think there was less than 40 available in a CGC 9.8. And you're probably running closer to 50 now. I didn't look up the census number, but if you can get it for around 260 or 265, like this one sold for, that is an absolute steal of a deal in my mind. Next up is another one in my collection. This is Star Wars number 39. This is part 1 of the Empire Strikes Back adaptation. Great cover with Darth Vader with the flagship executor, as well as some Star Destroyers on the cover. And again, it's part 1 of The Empire Strikes Back. Not a book that's ever going to really jump in value, but, you know, if you're like me and you think Empire Strikes Back is the best of all the different Star Wars movies, this is, again, just another book you want to have in your collection. And the price is very attractive right now. This one sold for $246 and change plus $10 shipping. And, you know, this one was kind of hovering around $350 to $400 earlier this year. So, again, this one's come well down from the highs, and a great book to add. Next up is one I don't have in my collection, but I would like to get, and that's Star Wars number 40. It's the first appearance of Rogue Squadron, and it shows the AT-AT walkers shooting at Luke as he gets out of his down snowspeeder. He's got his lightsaber there. Just an awesome cover. This one in a newsstand is particularly hard to find, but this was the direct edition. That one sold for $225.47. That book's actually held up pretty well in terms of price. It hasn't really moved that much. It's, you know, it was kind of around $250 or so. So let's call this one $225 plus $10 shipping. So it hasn't moved down nearly as much as maybe some of the other key issues that we've just covered. But I do think that that's still a book worth having in your collection. Just a fantastic, timeless cover showing the Battle of Hoth. And again, that one was sold for about $235 after shipping. We all know this one. This is Star Wars number 42. This was a CBCS 9.0 white pages, and this one sold for $113.50 at auction. That was a great price. Again, it wasn't a 9.8 grade. A 9.8 grade is probably going to set you back around $1,500 to $1,800. But for a 9.0 to get it for $113, that's a great buy in my mind for a 9.0 white pages CBCS, and just a really timeless book. And you know, obviously this is the first comic book appearance of Boba Fett, as well as the first full comic book appearance of Yoda. He made his first cameo in Star Wars number 42, the issue before that. Here's Star Wars number 43, but this is the newsstand edition. So you can see the barcode there in the lower left-hand corner, denoting that it's the newsstand edition. And this is the first full comic book appearance of Lando Calrissian. Betrayal at Bespin. I've got this one in a direct edition. Now, this is the newsstand, and it sold for $462. That is a fantastic buy. This used to sell for close to $800 in a newsstand, with the direct editions going for close to $600. Now you can get the newsstand for $462 plus $20 shipping. I think that was a really great buy, and well down off the highs. Here is a book that I really like as well. It's not a key issue, so to speak, but this is Star Wars number 52 from October of 1981. It's got a Darth Vader cover that is pretty awesome. It shows a TIE Advanced shooting at the Millennium Falcon over the Death Star. So it might have some kind of flashback scene going on from the first Death Star battle. But just a great cover. This one sold for $170 and change plus $10 shipping on 14 bids. Next up, this was another really great deal. This was a newsstand edition of Star Wars number 81 in a CBCS 9.8 white pages. And this was also the Canadian edition. So very tough to find this one, the 75-cent Canadian price variant, newsstand edition. This is the Return of Boba Fett and a nice painted cover by Tom Palmer. And I've got the direct edition in a CGC 9.8, but this is the much harder to find Canadian price variant with the newsstand. That one was listed for $348, and the best offer that was accepted was $318 plus $13 shipping. That was a steal. That was a steal. I saw it get listed, and I watched it because I was like, oh man, I'd love to pair that one with my direct edition to have the Canadian newsstand to go with it. But the timing was just terrible for me. I'm really trying to save up right now for a kind of a mini grail, so to speak. So I've been kind of in selling mode right now, selling off some of the stuff I don't want to sell. But so I just couldn't make it happen. I thought whoever got this one, though, got a great deal on that one. Next up is another book I'd like to get. And again, this is not a book I don't think will particularly appreciate in value, but it's just kind of, a nice buy and hold forever kind of book. And that's Return of the Jedi. There's 1 through 4. This was number 3. It's labeled as number 3, but this is actually mislabeled by CGC. It's actually issue number 1. Issue number 1 has Lando, Leia, Slave Leia, and Luke Skywalker in his Jedi Knight outfit. This is the official comic book adaptation of Return of the Jedi. Again, it's mislabeled by CGC, which I just now noticed, but this is issue number 1. There's 4 issues in this series. I think I'd like to pick up all 4 of those issues in a CGC 9.8 with white pages next year. I just think, again, with prices where they are right now and where they probably will stay for a while, you can pick these up for anywhere from $100 to $150, all 4 issues. And this one sold for $123.50. Although I don't think it would have sold that high if the buyer had noticed that it was mislabeled by CGC. So me personally, I wouldn't spend that on this book unless it was correctly labeled by CGC. This was just a labeling error. But this book is about where it sells, though, is about $125 or so for issue number 1. The later issues 2, 3, and 4 usually hover around $100 to $120 as well. So you can pick up all 4 of them in a 9.8 with some financial discipline fairly easily. And they're not particularly expensive, but that was issue number 1, although it was mislabeled. Now, this was another one I had to point out. This one sold at auction, and this is Heir to the Empire number 1, the first full appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn, but this was the newsstand edition, as you can see there in the lower left-hand corner, and as labeled by CGC. Now, this one has always been labeled as the newsstand edition because the price on the cover was different than for the direct edition. Again, it's the first comic book appearance of Mara Jade, Jorah C'baoth, as well as Grand Admiral Thrawn. I've got the direct edition. Now, this one just sold 2 months ago in an auction for $2,800. Not this particular book, but this same 9.8 grade for the newsstand. Now, just 2 or 3 months later, this one sold for $14.50. So this has been cut in half almost versus where this was selling 2 or 3 months ago. So again, it's a really big book. There's not a lot of people spending $1,500 on a single colored pages wrapped in acrylic, but to get this one, there's less than 20 or 25 of these on the CGC census for the newsstand edition, so it's a very, very difficult book to find in a 9.8 grade. But $14.50 versus $2,800, that's a huge price difference. And again, if you have the kind of money to burn on a book like that, that's a great price. Again, here was another one. This was a CBCS 9.8 newsstand edition of Heir to the Empire number 1. And this one was $11.83. This one sold for $1,183 and change plus $16 shipping. And CBCS 9.8s typically sell for less than CGC. That's just a fact. I'm not dogging CBCS by any means. This is certainly an amazing book, and I would be more than happy having a CBCS 9.8 for a newsstand Heir to the Empire number 1. But that just shows you how big the price difference is for a CGC 9.8 that sold for $14.50 versus a CBCS 9.8 that sold for $11.83 plus shipping. Next up is another book I'd like to kind of fill in my collection with, and that's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace number 3. This is the first cover appearance of Darth Maul. This is the painted cover variant. This one was listed for $260, and the best offer that was accepted was $200. Now, again, 3 or 4 months ago, this was going for $400. $400 versus $200. Now's a great time to kind of pick up some of these early Dark Horse books in case you're trying to fill in your collection like I am. Likewise, Star Wars Republic number 52. This is the first cover appearance of Dirge, the bounty hunter, as well as Asajj Ventress. The first comic book appearance were earlier issues. I believe it was Star Wars Republic number 50 for Dirge. And I don't remember Asajj's first appearance. I think it was Mace Windu. The one-shot Mace Windu book was the first full comic book appearance of Asajj Ventress. But this is another key issue. This one sold for $104.50. This was going for $250 all day long. Now it's $104.50. That's less than 50% based on current prices. So again, you can find some really good deals on some of these Dark Horse books. Here's another one, The Origin of Asajj Ventress. This is Republic number 60. Again, it's a Dark Horse book from 2003. This one sold for $122.50, and again, that's been cut in half. This was going for about $250 all day long. But again, another key issue, the origin story for Asajj Ventress. For $122.50, that is a no-brainer buy. It's a fantastic cover, showing Asajj Ventress on the cover there. Just an awesome book for $122.50. Next up is a book that's actually held up fairly well, although it has come down, and that's Star Wars Republic number 65. This is the first appearance of Barriss Offee in comics, and just a fantastic cover with Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, and I don't know the other two guys' names, but Hunting the Hunters. I think it just covers some of the Purge, Order 66, and some of the kind of stories back then. And again, this was a Dark Horse book from 2004. This one sold for $201.52. Now, it's held up fairly well, though. I mean, the last month or so, it's kind of been anywhere from $250 to $200, like this one sold for. But, at the very peak, when Barriss Offee was rumored to be appearing either in the Ahsoka TV series or in Mandalorian Season 3, which, Barriss Offee still heavily rumored to appear. When those rumors first broke, that book was hitting about $400, but it has since come back down to earth, although it's still held up fairly well versus some of the earlier prices. Here's another good book I think I'd like to pick up, and that's Knights of the Old Republic Rebellion number 0. This is the first appearance of Squint in comic books. This is kind of a minor secondary key, but Squint eventually becomes Darth Malak, if memory serves, and this was going for $150 to $200. This one sold for $78.77 plus $4.25 shipping. For a 2006 Dark Horse book for less than $100, that is a great buy. And again, it's a secondary key related to Darth Malak. I think it would be a great book to pick up eventually. Pretty good cover there. And I think that if you like Darth Malak and Darth Revan, I do think that something at some point will happen with those in live action. And this would be a nice kind of alternative versus Star Wars Tales 23 or Knights of the Old Republic number 9 or Knights of the Old Republic. I can't remember the number, but it's got the Malak Unleashed on there. Some of those, I think it's 52. 52 is the other key book. But this is kind of a secondary key, and for less than $100, I think that's a no-brainer. Next up, we've got a big one. This is Clone Wars number 1, the first comic book appearance of Captain Rex and Ahsoka Tano. And this one sold for $1,800 in an auction, 35 bids on November 27th. And again, 3 months ago, this was a $2,500 to $2,800 book. It has come way back down, and now's a great time to pick this book up, I think. And I'd love to be able to say I could get this fairly soon, but it's just not going to happen for me. But $1,800 is getting really attractive in terms of the price point for a very tough-to-find book. Dave Filoni cover, fantastic, and I would love to have it eventually. This is kind of one of those personal grails for me. I'd love to pair this one with Heir to the Empire number 1, which is Grand Admiral Thrawn's first appearance. Having Ahsoka and Grand Admiral Thrawn paired up would be pretty incredible for my Dark Horse run, but not going to happen for me anytime soon unless I sell off some more stuff. Now it's time to cover Darth Vader number 3. I always cover her. The first comic book appearance of Dr. Aphra and her 2 droids. This one sold for $265 plus $12 shipping. So it's kind of hovered at that floor for a while now. $250 to $265 seems to be the going rate. And again, if Dr. Aphra hits like I think she will next year, this book will probably double in price is my guess. So now's a pretty good time to pick it up. It's an awesome cover. I mean, I'm not going to belabor the point or beat a dead horse, but if you don't have this book, this is kind of a must-have in my opinion. I've got that one in my collection for both the first print and the second print. Not the third or the fourth print yet, or the harder to find Laraka 1 in 25 variant. But this is a really good buy right now, $265 plus $12 shipping. Likewise, Kanan the Last Padawan number 6 in a 9.8. This is the first full appearance of the Star Wars Rebels team. This was going for $600 all day long. Now it's $305. So it's been cut in half. This one sold in an auction for $305. What an absolute awesome deal. And, this cover is fantastic. It's got Chopper, Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus, Eris Syndulla, Sabine Wren, as well as Zeb Orrelios on that cover. And again, it's not labeled as such by CGC, but this is the first full appearance of the Rebels team. And for $305, getting it for $305 versus $600 earlier this year, I mean, that is a fantastic buy in my mind. Next up is one that's on my short list in terms of modern recent releases, and that's Star Wars Visions number 1. It's finally starting to come back down to earth, and I'd pay this price all day long. $51 plus $17 shipping on 16 bids is what this one sold for, and I'm going to have to buy this book soon. This is going to be a purchase for me in the next few months, but I love this episode of Star Wars Visions, and if I can get it in that kind of $45 to $55 range, $17.05 shipping was a little high for me, but I think if I can get that one for $50 plus $15 shipping, I think I'd pay that all day long. So they come up for sale at auction all the time, starting at $1 right now because everyone sent this one in. I don't care about the long-term value of this book. It's just an awesome cover. and one I'd like to kind of have in my collection. Next up, I got a couple of autographed items before we finish up the video. This is Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 19. This is the Sprouse variant cover with the first comic book cover appearance of Bo-Katan Kryze, and this is signed by Katie Sackhoff, who obviously portrayed Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian Season 2. That autograph is amazing. It's the Signature Series yellow label. Just an awesome cover. I've got this one in a 9.8 grade, just unsigned though. And I was curious to see what this one would sell for. I mean, the unsigned version goes for like 40 or 50 bucks. But the signed version sold for $202.50 plus $15.70 shipping. And then that same seller also had this one, which I really loved. This is the photo variant cover for Star Wars Tales number 1. And this is about Chrysantan. And this is signed by the actor who played Chrysantan in the Book of Boba Fett, Kerry Jones, the actor. And what an awesome photo variant cover. Just awesome. I love it. That one sold for $177.50. Again, I think these modern books that have been signed by the actor or actress, it's not like it's going to like super appreciate in value. This is if you're an autograph collector and you want like a high grade comic book with the autograph. This is kind of I want to have the autograph of the actor on a comic book, and it may never go up in value, but it's just kind of a cool book to have, and it really displays nicely. That is just an awesome cover. So anyway, just some ideas for those of you out there collecting Star Wars comics. Now is a great time, in my opinion, especially over the next couple of months. People are going to be saving up for the holidays. There might be even better deals over the next couple of months as, you know, the economy slows down and people kind of save for the holidays. Be on the lookout for some of these awesome deals because there are some good ones out there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.